Welcome Tiny Home Blueprints, your destination for inspiring tiny home floor plans, designs, interior and exterior ideas. Before we begin, please subscribe, like, and share with your family and friends for more tiny home content. Now let's proceed. Picture this, a flat, empty piece of land. No road, no power, no water, just dirt, weeds, and a dream that everyone told them was insane. 18 months later, that same plot has a 900 square foot main cabin with floor-to-ceiling glass, a guest tiny home, a converted shipping container office, a fire pit lounge area, and a view that looks like it belongs on a postcard. This is not a buy a tiny house kit and drop it on a lot story. This is what it actually takes to turn raw, empty land into a luxury tiny home estate. The permits nobody warns you about, the costs that double overnight, and the one mistake that almost killed the entire project before it started. If you've ever dreamed about owning land and building something that's actually yours, stick around, because today we're breaking down exactly how this happened. The good, the ugly, and the parts nobody puts in their YouTube thumbnails. Before we get into it, if you're someone who's actually serious about this lifestyle, not just watching for the aesthetic, hit subscribe right now. This series goes deep into the stuff most tiny home content skips. The legal headaches, the budget blowouts, the stuff that almost makes people quit. Episode 2 is about the zoning laws that can shut your entire project down before you even break ground, so you'll want to be here for that one. Okay, let's get into it. It started with 5 acres of nothing. No structures, no utilities, not even a real driveway. Just an overgrown access trail that used to lead to an old farmhouse that burned down decades ago. The land cost less than half of what a comparable lot with utilities already installed would have run. That's the trade-off nobody talks about enough. Raw land is cheap because someone else already paid to make the easy land expensive. You're not skipping those costs. You're just paying them later, on your own terms, in your own order. The first reality check came during the land survey. What looked like 5 flat, buildable acres turned out to have almost 2 acres of unbuildable wetland buffer because of a seasonal creek that only shows up after heavy rain. That's nearly 40% of the property gone before a single shovel hit the ground. This is one of the most common and most expensive surprises in raw land purchases, and it's exactly why a perk test and a proper survey before closing isn't optional. It's the difference between an estate and a swamp. Here's the part that breaks budgets faster than anything else. Utilities. Running power to the build site meant working with a local electric cooperative to extend lines nearly 600 feet from the nearest pole. That alone cost more than the price of a small, used tiny home on wheels. Some areas charge per pole, per foot, or a flat trenching fee, and that number can swing wildly depending on how far you are from existing infrastructure. Water was its own battle. No municipal water out here, so the only option was drilling a well. The first attempt hit dry rock at 180 feet. The second attempt, on a different part of the property, finally hit a usable aquifer at almost 300 feet. 2 well attempts. That's a cost most budgets don't even leave room for, because most people assume drill a well is a one-shot expense. And then there's septic. A full septic system, engineered and permitted for the property's specific soil type, ran close to what a decent down payment on a starter home would cost in a lot of markets. People see tiny home and assume tiny budget. The land prep alone can rival the cost of the house itself. This is where the build either becomes an estate or stays a glorified shed on a slab. The decision was made early to go with a permanent foundation instead of a trailer chassis. That single choice changed everything. It meant the home no longer qualified as an RV or tiny home on wheels in the eyes of the county. It became a permanent dwelling, which triggered full residential building code, insulation requirements, structural engineering stamps, electrical inspections at multiple stages, and a final occupancy certificate before anyone could legally live there. A lot of tiny home content skips this part because it's not glamorous. But this decision is the difference between a home that holds long-term value and appreciates like real property, versus a home that depreciates like a vehicle. If the goal is an estate, not a parking spot, the foundation conversation has to happen before the design conversation. With infrastructure handled, the design phase began, and this is where tiny and luxury had to be reconciled. The main cabin came in at 900 square feet, but every material choice was deliberate. White oak flooring, a custom steel frame window wall facing the tree line, a soapstone countertop in the kitchen instead of standard quartz. None of this is necessary to live comfortably in a tiny home, But it's what separates a tiny home from a luxury tiny home estate. And it's exactly why this build cost roughly 3 times what a basic tiny home build would. The guest cabin, around 400 square feet, used a simpler material palette to control costs while still keeping the same architectural language. Matching rooflines, matching siding, so the property reads as one cohesive estate rather than a main house with mismatched outbuildings. The shipping container office was the most cost-effective structure on the property per square foot, but it came with its own surprise. Spray foam insulation and a vapor barrier were non-negotiable because steel boxes sweat. Skip that step, and mold becomes a guarantee, not a risk. Let's talk numbers honestly, because this is the part most channels gloss over. The original budget for this entire estate was set with roughly a 20% contingency built in. That contingency was gone before the well was even finished. By the time the project wrapped, the final cost had landed somewhere between 35 and 40% over the original estimate, and that's considered a good outcome for a custom build on raw land. Permit delays alone added nearly 3 months to the timeline, because the county's building department was working through a backlog that had nothing to do with this specific project. This is the honest truth about empty land to luxury estate content. The land is the cheap part. The dream is the cheap part. Utilities, permitting, foundation requirements, and the inevitable cost overruns are where projects either survive or get abandoned half-finished. Anyone promising a 5-figure luxury tiny estate build is either lying or leaving something out. After 18 months, multiple inspections, 2 failed well attempts, and a budget that stretched further than anyone wanted to admit, move-in day happened. And here's the honest part, it didn't feel like the finish line. It felt like the start of a different project. Maintenance, landscaping, finishing the fire pit area, fencing the property line. And estate isn't a single finish line you cross. It's a property that keeps evolving for years after the official build is done. But standing in that main cabin, looking out through that steel frame window wall at land that used to be an empty, overgrown lot, that's the part the budget overruns and the permit delays were actually for. Not the aesthetic. The fact that every inch of it was earned, planned, and fought for instead of bought off a showroom floor. So that's the honest version of going from empty land to a luxury tiny home estate. Not the 30-second transformation clip, but the real 18-month version with the wells, the wetlands, and the budget that didn't survive contact with reality. If this kind of honest, no-filter look at alternative builds is what you're here for, make sure you're subscribed, because next episode we're tackling something that stops more tiny home dreams dead than any budget overrun ever could: zoning laws. We're going to break down exactly what counties look for, what gets projects shut down after construction has already started, and how to actually check before you buy land, not after. If you found this useful, drop a comment letting me know what part of this build surprised you most: the wells, the budget, or the foundation decision. I read every one of them. See you in the next one.